All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Now, we are on the most amazing top 10 channel. Now, we got top 10 convicts who freaked out after giving a life sentence. Now, I forgot the exact age they say that a human being should know right from wrong, but it's pretty young. Like your brain, the way the brain works, they say you should know right from wrong. And they always say, if you don't want to do the time, don't do the crime. Growing up the way I grew up, hey, could have made a lot of bad decisions, but I chose to make the right ones. So it's tough to feel sympathy for people who put themselves in situations. You got to think about the people who were affected by this, the parents of the other families. It's crazy, man, because watching those Mr. Ballin videos when something happens and they're like, they were sentenced to 20 years. And you be like, what? It should have been life. But all right, we ain't gonna waste no more time. Let's jump right into it.
Hey, how's it going, all you most basic top 10ers? I'm your host for today, Landon Dalletsing, and welcome back to a brand new video. Let me know in the comment section below, how long do you guys think a life sentence should be? Okay, so there are a lot of criminals who commit horrible crimes and evil crimes. So when it is their time to face verdicts, a lot of these criminals have different intense reactions to their sentencing. So here are the top 10 convicts who freak out after given a life sentence. Starting off this list, number 10, with the mother and daughter's desperate plea. An 18-year-old teenager was sentenced to 20 years in prison after she used a dating app to set up a robbery that resulted in another teenager getting shot. When the judge handed down her sentence, the girl's mother dropped to the floor, crying out of extreme grief. The teenage girl was screaming for her mother and begging the judge to give her a lighter sentence. And oh yeah, I have a video clip of this. Watch.
So she set up that. Look, again, in the moment, you know you're doing the wrong thing, and you still go through with it. Like you planned this whole thing, like this was planned.
Headbanger comes into number 9. Brandon Spencer is serving a life sentence for opening fire at a Halloween party store, and this took place at the University of Southern California. He was charged with 4 counts of attempted murder, and this is his reaction to his arraignment.
21-year-old Brandon Spencer of Inglewood bangs his head as a judge sentences him to 40 years to life after he was convicted of shooting a rival gang member at a 2012 Halloween party on the USC campus.
Man.
Number 8 brings us to 2 females who freak out.
Opened a fire. Like, that's the thing about gangs, man. Is that, growing up in LA, you would always hear bullets ain't got no name. Meaning that once they come, anybody can get hit. And that's the thing about when they do drive-bys and stuff like that, is that they just be flying. A lot of innocent people. Think about that, man. A Halloween party, people are just out trying to have fun. And when they use words like open fire, that means like they don't care who was around. And now you want to feel bad, It's crazy.
After receiving a life sentence.
Be sentenced to the State Department of Corrections for a period of life. You will get credit for any of the time that you've served. That will be counted.
These two women collapsed in court after they were both handed life sentences for the death of a 3-year-old girl. Shortly after the judge read their sentencing, they fell to the floor with emotional outcries and they had to be wheeled out of the courtroom. Okay, moving into number 7, definitely unlucky number 7 for this one. Jaleel Hoskins pleaded guilty to second-degree murder after tampering with evidence after he violently murdered a mother of 5 and dumped her body in a trash dumpster. When the judge ordered him to serve a life sentence without the possibility of parole, he threw the podium towards the judge and he had to be dragged out of the courtroom by the deputies. Take a look at this.
Your Honor.
I love you, Mom! No! No!
Man fights with deputies comes into number 6. A 19-year-old received a sentence of life imprisonment after he shot and killed another man in an attempt to rob him. The convicted killer was still hopeful that he would at least get the chance of parole, but when the judge said that parole was out of the question, it sparked an aggressive outburst. You guys won't believe this. Take a look. Number 5 takes us.
I always like trip out when you hear like the people screaming in the background. You know, my whole thing is like, where was this screaming at when this dude was doing what he was doing? I know a lot of times though, like people get crazy. The parents might kick them out the house, or you know, a lot of them be doing dirt and the parents may not know. But my whole thing is like, you got the other family on the other side who lost their child, or it's just a trip to me, man. A trip. Because like I said, growing up around a lot of violence, you just, once you make that decision, you got to live with it. That's it.
To a man threatening to kill the judge. I mean, come on. Is this real life right now? During his trial, Juan Rodriguez was being convicted of murder for stabbing a nurse at a mental health facility. Instead of making any last-minute pleas, he threatens to kill the judge if he didn't let him out of jail, like as if that was going to work.
Listen to me. You don't let me out of here, I'm gonna kill you. I'm a Jew. I'm gonna take your life if you don't let me out of here.
Wow.
Okay? I'm done.
Yeah, that's probably not the smartest thing to say to a judge who literally has your fate in her hands. A 19-year-old man went into an aggressive rage after a jury sentenced him to death for a murder, and this comes into number 4. He began knocking down chairs before he was tackled by dozens of courtroom officers who eventually dragged him out of the courtroom. Take a look at this outburst. Stun gun shocks its way into number 3. Andrew Worth was charged with first-degree murder after he shot and killed a police officer. His bail was set at $1 million, and after the judge sentenced him, this is how he reacted. The officers had to use an electric stun gun to calm him down before they carried him out of the courtroom. Okay, moving on, number 2 brings us to Michael Marin. After he was found guilty of arson and almost facing a life sentence behind bars, he placed his hands over his mouth and swallowed something. A few minutes later, he began gagging and he died in the courtroom. A toxicology report discovered that he had poisoned himself with cyanide after he heard the verdict of his sentencing. This is insane.
Appears to swallow something after the verdict is read. Notice as he reaches down and appears to get something from his bag. He then wipes his face, swallows something, and appears to swallow again. But 8 minutes later, Marin starts convulsing, and collapses.
Yeah.
A violent man makes its way into number 1. A judge sentenced Marshall Iguana to 40 years in prison for aggravated assault after he cut his niece with a butcher knife. After he heard the sentencing, he used a thin blade from a safety razor and he slit his own throat in an apparent suicide attempt. He did survive, and he'll probably receive more time for sneaking contraband into the courtroom. Well, there you guys have it. That is the end of this video.
Again, it's hard to feel sympathy. It's almost like disrespectful to the victims when I'm not saying I've been through more than anybody in the world. I'm just saying, how did I make the right decisions? People, you always have a choice. And it's still gang violence going on today. That's so crazy to think about. When I just remember as a teen, and now I'm 42, and I still see people walking around, sagging, throwing up gangs. It's crazy, man, crazy. But all right, I wanted to check this video out. Again, appreciate all the love and support with you guys coming over. Gotta go look at something positive now. All right, peace out.